Hello, and welcome to our show Midwest Weekly, starring myself, Hairwick, and my co-host, Clt. We are here to give you our predictions of wildcard round action across the Midwest Sweat League Winter Split. Hello, Clt. How you feeling today, my friend?
Doing all right, man. Hanging in there. Excited to see some playoff action.
Me too. Yeah, we have a great 4 matches scheduled for this weekend. 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. It's certainly going to be a banger wildcard weekend for us. That's what I am calling this round, by the way, for everybody wondering, because I don't know what else to call it, and it made the most sense. So,
Round
anyways,
one.
you could call it round one, but I think wildcard has a better ring to it because you got quarters, and then you got semis, and you got finals. Going with the wild card, all right? So I like that. But yeah, so that's what we're slated for. So let's start with a couple things. Let's start with what happened last week a little bit here, guys. I want to break that down because we had a couple unfortunate things that occurred and caused some hiccups for the week. As everyone knows, last week was all about any tiebreakers and or All-Star weekend, right? So All-Stars was great. I had a lot of fun with that. I know Clt got to be a captain, aka coach, aka lead the drafts. He had a lot of fun with that. His team Fire, unfortunately though, did not win. So all hail the king, Team Moss, aka Victor Apple squad. So yeah, that was fun. But before that, we did have some tiebreakers for who was going to get that 4th seed and final bye. And it was played between the 2nd seeds from each group. Originally, I had a different setup than what I ended up talking about on the show back in I think episode 4 on the kind of the plan, or maybe it had been episode 5. I don't remember. But regardless, one of those episodes I did kind of note what the plan was going to be if it occurred, and it did not end up going that way. And a lot of that had to do with scheduling. So we ended up having to switch it around, and we ended up with kind of a round robin setup where as long as one team went 2-0, basically, we'd have no issues. But if there was a tie 1-1-1, everybody went 1-1, then you were going to be in a weird spot again, because like, how do you play tiebreakers for tiebreakers? It's just weird. So that would have been based off of a quickest match win. And honestly, I'm kind of glad it didn't come down to that, because I feel like that's just a weird way to do it, but it's what I was given. So had to get through that hurdle, right? I knew Clt knew how rough it was for me trying to figure that out for a couple days there. But we did get it, and we were able to figure out, and we had some games played. We're not going to go into full detail into the 2 games, but I will play a little bit here in the background for you guys while me and Clt talk. So the first match was between TK Ventures and Scorch, and it ended up resulting in a victory for TK Ventures. And so they went up 1-0. Scorch went down 0-1. And then the next match was between TK Ventures and Backdoor Bandits, and TK Ventures won. So that kind of settled that whole thing. It was really, really beautiful. Didn't have to worry about nothing else. We were gonna have a 5th and 6th seed play, for see who gets the 5th and who gets the 6th seed. But Backdoor Bandits had some weird stuff happen, and their top laner, let's just say he shut off his computer, more or less, right? He just said, I'm done. So he left. I'm not going to go into the full details of why he left. That's between that team and their team captain and him. So I'll leave that out of the conversation. But no, he did leave the team. So due to the last second of it, Backdoor then forfeited, and then Scorch got the 5th seed. So that's kind of what happened over the weekend. Last weekend, that is, right? And so then that's why we end up with the seeding we have. So you saw at the beginning of the video, I kind of already showed it. You're probably seeing something that's sticking out. And that's going to be the fact that and I'll go back to it real quick. PB&J is here and not Ghost. You're probably very confused. This is the last thing that happened, and I just want to touch on this, and then we can really get into what this episode's about. So basically, and sorry if I'm talking so much and Clt isn't. He's just letting me monologue this out real quick. So basically what happened was Sad Jellyfish and Ghost tried to come up with a way to play their match. But no matter what they did every single time one team would end up either with 2 subs or even possibly 3 subs. Each team offered days, just nothing was working. They tried even to maybe see if it was possible to do like, hey, maybe we do 1 game today, 1 game tomorrow, like, something like that. Even that wasn't possible. It just was just out of the realm of possibility. So because of that, it came down to default day being Saturday. Sad Jellyfish still couldn't play, so Sad Jellyfish then had to forfeit. But due to that, we had then had another conversation. Is this the right way to do things? Is this just give Ghost the win and move on? So we had to have that conversation as a mod team, and that's what brought us to the decision we ended up making, which was decided with the blessing of both captains, of course, being Havoc of Ghost and Dippy of Said Jellyfish, that we could bring in another team to replace them. So I went through, looked at all the 5th seeds, because that would be the next up, right? As far as the 5th seeds go, you had Dyslexic Defenders, PB&J, and Freebrax. Well, Dyslexic Defenders finished 1 of 4, so they weren't in the conversation because the other 2 teams finished 2 and 3. Then I went and looked at match record, and PB&J had the highest match record. So with the amount of time I had and how complicated things were, I wasn't going to go and do some weird tiebreaker scenario. This is just what it is. I apologize if it upsets anybody ahead of time, because that's not what we're about, and this is definitely not something that I would like to ever happen again, especially in a crucial match. So I'll be definitely looking at that in the off season with the rest of the mod team, trying to figure out how to maybe see a way around this in the future and never allow it to be a thing. Because I don't think teams should be forfeiting in a crucial moment like this, because it feels bad not just for Ghost, not just even for Coin Flip, who is also like, what the heck, this team just gets, whatever team I'm playing against just gets a free pass too, right? But also, Sad Jellyfish themselves, right? So we got to try to find a way to make it better, and that's something that we're going to work on. But yeah, so I do apologize. So any take from UCLT on the whole situation or how everything shaped out?
I mean, it's unfortunate for Sad Jellyfish. That seems to be the theme of this split, though, over the holidays and everything else. Schedules have been very hard to work around. It's unfortunate that everything fell the way it did, but I do like what the mod team's decision was to bring in PB&J, and also props to Havoc and the Team Ghost guys for kind of green lighting that direction. I think PB&J was like most people thought they were definitely the first team out in the sense of like the talent wise, and Group B was such a competitive group that it is nice to see them make it in there, and I think they will have a extremely competitive series in Team Ghost. So I'm happy that that's how it ended up getting resolved. I do feel bad that Sad Jellyfish had to forfeit, but we all fought the scheduling issues this split, so I definitely feel their pain in that regard.
Yeah.
So
I completely agree. On that. So, any opinion about the tiebreaker matches? I don't know what you caught. I'm just figuring I'd throw it out there and see if you caught any of the games. Maybe, had an opinion of these 3 teams that played or anything like that.
I did not catch much of the tiebreaker matches. I know Team Scorch is still kind of fighting, not fighting, but dealing with some mid lane subs. Tim's schedule kind of being, like I said, the theme of the split is scheduling. Working against him and some of the other teams. Unfortunately, you mentioned Backdoor's top laner leaving the squad. So, I mean, I'll be excited to see what they find as far as the top laner and what Scorch does for the mid lane side. But yeah, TK benchers looked really strong in both tiebreakers, and they had a really impressive regular season for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, these basically wouldn't have happened if, more than likely, if they played their match. I definitely don't want to ever say like it's a free win because that's not the case. But the way they were playing and the way T1 Tempest games have been going, it kind of was feeling like they would have beaten them. Um, but in the end they had to forfeit. So that's what threw this all into a fun little weekend we had there with two tiebreaker matches, or going into the weekend, and then obviously All Stars. So even though it was an off week for most of you guys, trust me, we were still busy at work trying to figure out some stuff. Um, but yeah, it's been a nice reprieve since. So, um, but yeah, I mean that's a good breakdown. I at least appreciate the the kind words and being understanding of the situation here that we were in, and finding a good resolution. I hope for not just your opinion, but I hope most people find that as a good resolution um, to the situation we had here. So, with that being said, though, why don't we get into the first matchup? Why don't we talk that, because that of course is unironically, the segue is perfect. Team Ghost versus Peanut Butter and Jelly. So why don't we start there, and uh, what is your feeling about this matchup here, CLT?
My feeling on this matchup, I think PB&J, I don't know how much practice they got after the regular season, or if they had enough time to get back into that game mode to play the playoffs. So that'll be quite interesting. I think they have a really, really fundamentally strong team. They can do a little bit of creative things in the draft. We've seen them flex Victor in the bot lane, and even have Kepo playing Sivir in the mid lane to kind of be a little bit flexible in the draft. And they've done a lot of good things there to make sure that their lanes are in have the advantages. But Team Ghost, having covered them a little bit, we we know how talented player for player that they are when you have someone like Havoc and Geico, and then even for people who've been playing for a while, Mage Hand, who I consider to still be a pretty talented mid laner. They're just, the thing with Team Ghost is they've been really inconsistent. Like, their highs are really, really high. They look really good into teams that they can get an early game advantage into, and like went through laning phase or snowball from the laning phase advantages. But some of their low points, pointing at this week 5 matchup where they played Instinct, they definitely had a very difficult time there. I know they picked on Mage quite a bit, but this was also a series where Good Boy just popped off as well. So it's it'll be curious to see if PB&J can cook up anything in this next week. You have the patch coming out, feats of strength getting changed, Mel getting released, and we'll see what happens there. But Team Ghost, if they can come out and sure up some of the inconsistencies, I think there can be a dark horse team that can make a pretty deep run. So I'm quite interested in this series, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a pretty good take. I actually will say I agree with you on a lot of what you said about Ghost. Um, I do think they are a little inconsistent. I want to say what their team reminds me of is a team that is a little cocky at times, a lot of confidence, and um, I think when you play like that, you can get i- stuck in a world where you think you're just better than everybody almost, and that gets you into trouble, right? Um, don't get me wrong, great players, but you still have to stay humble and know that like the guys across from you are good players too, and if you don't give them your best and they give you their best, that there's a good chance you're gonna lose. Um, and I know why they have some of that. I mean, like Havoc has um, won this split before. Okay, not this split I'm saying, but won a title I should say in the Little Midwest server. He's won in other leagues as well. Mage has been a part of the winning, so they haven't not experienced that. I know Geico has won outside of the league, so these players, there is some championship caliber players. We don't talk a lot about the fact that they've won these titles because it did come in the earlier years of Low Midwest, but it still exists. They're still there. They're still titles, and yeah, they're very good players. So that's like undoubtable. Um, but on the other side of things, again, like you said, highs being so high, but the lows, they're pretty low. Like, even that series against the Dyslexic Defender was like, that early game of game one, super high and then plummeted so fast. And they show how low they can play and how they struggled against that team is not something I think anyone would expect in that situation. They won the series, but it was kind of like at what cost, you know? But yeah, and then flipping over to PB&J, I agree on your take about what are they going to look like. You know, are they even still playing together, right? That's a question. And I guess we're going to find out, because if they are, then they might still look like the PB&J we saw all split, which is a pretty good team. They took every single team they played against in the group, with the exception of Icewall, to 3 games. Icewall they 2-0'd, but every other team, 3 games. Whether they lost or they won, it was always 3. So clearly they can win, right? They just normally couldn't close it out, and the teams they lost to were just slightly better teams. But yeah, I mean, Darkhound's a really, 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 really good jungler, and I think that's like a really a spot for me where I'm going to be watching heavily, because I think a lot of the series could just be dictated straight up on how well Darkhound is playing, because we already know what Havoc and Geico are going to do on the other side. And though I think Jello is a good player, I still think Geico's above him in terms of skill slightly. Don't get me wrong, Jello's good, but I do think like the mistakes are less from Geico, right? Jello likes to dash in for fun. We've seen that. His Ezreal E's, his quirky W's, cracked me up. You get him caught out. And then top lane, Gameplay has got really good bright spots, and I think he's a phenomenal player. Like, the Cassante was excellent. I could have sworn he played Gwen as well. Like, he's very, very good at the picks he plays, but we also know how good Havoc is. So that's where I think it's going to matter the most. As far as support and mid lane go, I'm not ignoring those lanes, really. It's just that's where like I'm going to be looking to see it, where it breaks down. What I'm going to want to see from PB&J this week specifically is their macro, because I think that's their worst. The worst part of their team was their macro all split. I think their drafting got better and better. Individual play was pretty good, and team fighting was obviously not bad. But yeah, their macro lacked in a couple spots, and it really cost them in crucial moments. So if they clean up that macro, I think it'll be a fun series, in my opinion. So
Yeah, for the most part, I agree. I agree with all that. I think probably the player to watch for PB&J is going to be Darkhound. He has like so many unique picks, but he plays them so well. Like, especially point out, like, he's got 4 or 5 games on a Moo. And anybody who watched the series into Load the Cannons, like, he had some insane angles that he would come from. So
yeah, absolute monster. Yeah. So I guess we should get down to the nitty gritty here, CLT. What are you feeling? What's your pick, man?
I think this goes to 3 games.
Okay.
And I think I do give the edge slightly to Team Ghost.
Okay.
I think this week of time off helps them stir up some consistencies, and I think they have the talented players in there, especially in the top side and bottom side of the map, to get some small incremental advantages. I do think the one wild card that could throw them off is Darkhound himself. But I do kind of give the slight edge to Team Ghost. I would probably say like 60-40. I would go to Team Ghost, but I do think this goes to 3 games, because I think PB&J put their mid jungle duo onto some playmakers, and like mid can help supplement what Darkhound wants to do across the map, whether it be something like a Galio pick or an Orianna to help create and capitalize on the advantages Darkhound makes.
Okay. I think for the most part I agree with you. Here's the only thing I don't agree with you on. I don't agree at 60-40, especially a slight edge. That feels like more than a slight edge. It feels like a 3-1 or a 4-1 odds type of situation we're talking. I think it's more of a 51-49 I think this is as close as you could get to a pick'em type match, without being a pick'em 50-50 split. So I'm gonna go 51-49, and I think that's um, I think that's kind of where I'm leading
Okay.
personally. And I'm gonna say Ghost, by the way. I should say that.
Okay. So we both got Ghost. Respectable.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we can go ahead and jump into the next matchup, which is going to be Scorch versus Insane Banana Posse. Now, we have seen this matchup already, so I will actually go find that and play that while we're talking about the two teams. But yeah, I can't even remember what week it was. Do you recall which week it was?
I think it might have been a week 2 matchup or week 4.
Wasn't.
I could be wrong. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, well, you can go ahead and give your take while I look for this match.
Yeah. So Scorch versus Insane Banana, rematch of some Group A teams. This is going to be an interesting rematch because I think both teams are making like some subs and lineup changes here. Team Scorch, while have been together for quite a long time, Tim, as noted before, running into some scheduling issues and hasn't really had a chance to play or get into a rhythm this split. They've had a couple of subs. I forget the week 5 sub. I know he was Swain something, uh, but played it really well. And the Banana Soar, who they are 2-0 with, has played mid lane for them often this split. And Insane Banana, I don't know if it's if we have noted it, but fortunately / unfortunately, their top laner had to go and play with his college team and put a lot of time and effort into there. So he has stepped away from Insane Banana, but War Initiate, who for the long time people have been in this league known him as the top laner last split, he's going to move the top lane, and Ghost Tiger 40 is coming back to the mid lane. I say coming back because this was the lineup that almost made the playoffs last split. So this is a really different dynamic because I felt like Insane Banana was just getting their rhythm playing with War in the mid lane, and War has a lot of unique picks. Generally, they are very tanky and top lane skewed. He had stuff like the Nautilus. I played against this Cho'Gath. I've seen him on Galio a few times. Like he plays for the team, and he does enough in lane to keep himself even, and has plenty of resources to create opportunities around the map. But with Ghost Tiger at the mid lane, he's definitely more of a classic mage player. For those that didn't see last split, his Talia is very, very good. His Hui is very good, and I know he has a couple of other mage style picks. So this definitely gives them a new wrinkle and something different to prepare for, which this could throw off Scorch a little bit. Scorch has been, a very classic team. They don't really deviate too much from what they want to play, but they have a lot of options for what they want to play. Boonstra down in the bot lane with Calico can play a lot of mages. We've seen stuff like Asol, I believe played Victor, Seraphine, still, a very acceptable mage down there. There's a lot of creative picks that this bot lane can throw at you, and then that also allows them to have AP picks in both mid and bot, because Ares is not a player that is traditionally gravitated towards tanks. You've seen him be threatening on stuff like the Yone that has stood out and done a lot of work in team fights, along with a few others. Not saying he can't play tanks. He's a very talented top laner, but he definitely gravitates a lot towards those fightery, split pushing type of picks. So I'm not sure if Tim is playing in the mid lane. or what sub that they have, but this matchup could go either way, and this is going to be an exciting one to see what form both of these teams are in now that we're starting the playoffs.
Yeah, I do. I do agree with again a lot what you're saying. Sometimes I feel like we could just completely straight disagree, and then sometimes we just like completely agree. It's really nice. But yeah, Scorch do play a more, I agree with you, like more traditional style of play. They generally don't, stray too far away, with the exception of maybe Boonstra playing some mages in the bot lane. Um, whereas the same Banana Posse is known for more unique picks, more, kind of similar to coin flip in that round where they just kind of play what they think is good, and they're gonna try things. They're not afraid to just kind of throw stuff wherever. Um, I should note though, when these two teams played, this was the infamous Rusty Mundo games. So,
Ah,
yes, yes. So, Scorch did win this matchup. I remember now
mhm.
what happened. Um, but yeah, and same banana pots with Ghost Tiger being back will be fun. Is he going mid and we're gonna shit back top?
That is correct. Yep.
Yep. Okay.
It
So
is the same lineup from last split.
exactly the same line with nothing. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, it'll definitely be interesting. I could see where it could go heavily into you know Scorch's favor on one side of things because of how the first matchup went, but then at the same point, like this is the OG roster, and War is really not a mid laner, so this could be a lot different, and it could change the matchup completely. So it was also a week 2 matchup, so there has been a pretty decent time between the matchups, and we're talking about what, almost about a month, right? So
Roughly. Yeah.
yeah, that's a lot of time. These teams have definitely changed in that time. So um, it certainly is going to be very interesting. Um, but Scorch coming off their win against TK Gamers, I'm sure they got to be feeling themselves right now. I mean, that was a really big win the last time they were on the Rift. So yeah, I think for me, what I'm going to be looking for is definitely how Ghost Tiger looks back, but also with Ghost Tiger being an actual mid laner, how is Bananasaur, assuming Bananasaur plays, I think he's going to, look into that good of a mid laner that we know Ghost Tiger to be. And for the most part, I think Bananasaur stood up the test really well all split. So this will be very interesting to see. And then the Rusty Crow versus Flame Dog matchup again will be fun.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. The question is Flame Dog going to keep trying to pull out this Ambassador, or maybe just go for something maybe a little more traditional? I don't think the Ambassador jungle is bad, but I just don't think it's great. And I think there's stuff that's better for him to play and pop off on. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this series overall. Sucks that we're not gonna get Ares versus Noob again, because I think Noob was really good. Fun to watch. But I'm not saying that obviously War versus Ares won't be good either. I'm sure it's going to be a banger of a matchup. So it'll be fun. Where you kind of leading on your picks here?
I think the series goes 3 games because both teams are going to be able to steal draft advantages by being creative. This is probably the series most likely to see Mel come out. I have no insight. I know a lot of people on both sides, but zero insight on any of the teams' take on Mel. But I think this series has the most amount of creativity in draft that Mel could potentially come out. What lane? We don't even know. I could see a world where one of these teams busted out of support, maybe. But
I think, as you're saying that, I feel like Mel would be a Calico champion, because when I've played as
yeah,
Mel feels like a shorter ranged Lux, if you ask me. Where the difference
yeah.
is the stun is now on the E instead of the Q, and the Q is now the AoE instead of the E.
See, I think of Mel as more of a Nico type of champion. Like the E you kind of position the E to be something similar to it, and the Q both pokes as well. Doesn't have the it has a much longer range, and it's not as like bursty as Nico Q. But there's definitely a lot of similarities with the Q and E abilities and how you like position yourself to use those in trades mid.
Yeah.
But I could definitely see someone like Ghost Tiger. He hasn't shown anything this split. We don't know what kind of form he's in. Maybe they just put caution to the wind and they just pull out the Mel game 1 and see how that's going to be. Or like you said, Calico could pull it out in the bot lane as well. But as far as this actual matchup, I would probably I would probably say another 60-40. I would give the slight edge to Scorch because I think they have to make the least amount of changes going into this. If they've got 2 wins under their belt with Banana Soar, and he is a pretty solid mid laner. He plays the stuff like the Corki. He can pull out the Xerath, stuff like that. But I think Insane Banana, if they put in the work, and Ghost Tiger can get the synergy back with Flame Dog and sure up a lot of his champion pool. Like I think Insane Banana could sneak this one out. I think both teams win a draft, and it's just going to be the game 3 who cooks the least and is more comfortable with that traditional style. And I would have to give that to Scorch, I think, right now.
Yeah. I think I will agree. Leaning towards Scorch. I'm gonna go though 55-45. So again,
That's fair.
I disagree with your slight edge. Again, 60-40 seems like big, man. I think you gotta re-identify what slight edge means. 60-40 is really
I
high.
mean, use 55-45. It's only 5 off. I mean,
Yeah, but slight edge is 51-40, and like I said before, I feel like 55-45
I
is.
mean, 6 out of 10 games. Like, that's
Sure, if you're
a
looking
draft, right?
if you're looking at it like that, I'm looking at it more like if they have a 60% chance to win, that's a pretty high percent chance to win. If we're really going based on percentages, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, we could phrase it different ways, but I mean, I think we both agree that the Scorch has the edge,
yes, I like
but
that too.
yeah, but like Scorch has the sh- the l- the smallest uphill battle as far as like playing with a sub. When the sub comes in, they still play traditional mid laners and traditional style. I think Insane Banana can definitely be very creative in draft, but it's just going to be what form are they in. War's going top. Top lane trading pattern is much different than mid. How fresh and how sharp does Ghost Tiger feel coming back?
Yeah,
It's just there's a lot of questions that are going to be answered in this game 1, and it's going to be I feel like it's going to be a banger series. But also, Insane Banana are the originators of the Yumi mid funnel, so
yeah. Who
that could come out
knows?
and play too.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with my 55-45, and I'm gonna say Scorch wins a sweep. I think they 2-0 like they did in week 2. I think Insane Mana Posse did a great job at making playoffs, but I just think Scorch is looking back kind of more like the team we know and love from previous iterations, looking much more closer to their form of last split when they ran all the way to finals. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to Scorch 55-45, and that's my take. I think Insane Posse will still play well, but I do think the uphill climb of having taken some time off, as in specifically Ghost Tiger, and the free transition to top lane for War could be a little bit of a too much of a shake up for them.
That's fair.
So, with that said, we will jump into the third matchup, and I should state it's so funny, but both of these matchups will be the ones on Saturday, so they're actually the first ones. And then how funny is this? I love when this works out this way. I think it's hilarious. The next matchup to be played will also be played Sunday afternoon, or even kind of almost but Sunday afternoon around like 1 o'clock PST.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just going in order. I don't know. It's just hilarious to me. But yeah, so we'll get into TK Gamers versus Cal Poly Division 2. I mean, right off the bat, my first thought is just, can Cal Poly 2 truly compete with TK Gamers? That's my honest thought. Because what I've seen from Cal Poly is a stable unit that knows how to macro pretty well. Individual play is pretty solid. They understand their fundamentals. But something about them feels like it's missing, and I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know, and I can't pinpoint on it. But they just don't feel like a team that can make a run right now. They might need some more time to cook in the kitchen. And I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, that's great, because that just means you prove me wrong, Cal Poly. I'm not actually trying to come at you guys more as there is something there. And I definitely want to see it grow. The one thing I will note about them is their drafting recently has been a little more simplified. That could be a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is, well, it's a simple draft. So we're playing Wukong, we're playing Malphite, we're playing Orianna, we're playing things like this. Very simple champions. They combo well. It's simple team fight, very standard. But I think in this league, being too standard is not a good thing, because teams are used to playing into very standard basic comps. And TK Gamers is a team that's not afraid to do things, and also are familiar with what it's like to play against a straightforward comp, right? Very familiar with it. So that's what leads me to TK Gamers. I think TK Gamers is just, right now, pretty far ahead of the curve in terms of Cal Poly. On if there was a power scaling scale, I guess. That's again not anything negative towards Cal Poly. I just don't think that team is ready yet. But yeah, the unique play of TK Gamers, Victor Apple. Oh wait, I always confuse this. Victor Apple doesn't play on this team, right? I mean, don't get this wrong, or does he? This is Bori's team, right? I
Yes.
hate when I do this. It's because these freaking dudes all play on different teams. But anyway, so let me check their roster real quick.
CC, Poke
Yeah,
Archer,
yeah, yeah, here it
Standby,
is.
Boy
Okay,
Relentless.
yeah, but so I'm more speaking on standby here, because Victor is like this too on the other TK team. Standby, he's not afraid to pull different things out in the mid lane, and he's shown that. He'll play unique picks like the Karthus, for example, we saw earlier this split.
Tank Jace.
Tank Jace, right. So when you have player like that, and that's not just them. Bori's not afraid to pull out different things bot lane. Poke Archer's kind of strayed a little bit away from the Sedge. He hasn't been on Sejuani duty the whole split, which is probably got to be nice. But yeah, that ability to do that is unique to them as a team. So when I think about that, and I think about having championship caliber players in both Bori and Poke Archer who've won a title, I kind of go, I don't think there's a world right now where Cal Poly should win this. And that is kind of my take on the two teams. I just think, just one's a little far ahead of the other. So what do you kind of think? Would you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Is there something else you'd like to add in?
I for the most part agree. I think this is an unfortunate draw for Cal Poly that they got arguably the best third seed. Yeah, I could probably confidently say the best third seed in the bracket, and you could argue that they were a win away from being a second seed. Because Scorch took them to 3 games and won that game 3 in week 5. I agree for the most part with the sentiments on Cal Poly. I think looking back, as you were talking, I look back on most of their matches. Their drafts look very stable. They look very, very standard, but they are simple. Like, their drafts don't have a lot of tools. The tools that they have, they play well. Like Gojo on stuff like the Nico. Gyarados has got a lot of really solid picks. I've seen stuff like Lilia and Wukong out there. So there's a lot of team fightery go buttons from the top side of the map, but sometimes you need just a little bit more out of your comp. I think their comp can be very low opportunities on skill expressions. Is kind of what I mean by simple. but they do play those comps really well. So I think if they get into winning positions and they team fight specifically in like jungle corridors, they have a lot of AoE go buttons that they can utilize. But this TK Gamers squad is very talented. They know how to read a draft, how to read a team comp, and how to like not play into them. And they have a lot of talent that can go a lot of different places with their picks. I mean, you see Relentless on stuff like Blitzcrank. We even seen CC Star and Standby lane swap with a Riven Silas matchup against Insane Banana there in week 2. So this TK Gamer squad can be very deadly in the draft. They can play a lot of different things. And they do a very good job at playing comps that can like almost skill check you and hands check you in a way there. But they have unique answers to stuff like we see Standby pulling out Zoe against Victor, for instance. It's just one small example. So I think this is probably a little more one-sided. I would definitely favor the TK squad, but if they play reckless, which sometimes they can play a touch of disrespectful, or if they play too many hand check champions, which they did against Scorch in that game 2, where you've seen stuff like Kiana come out, where it's you have to be so skill expressive that you have to be perfect, then it wouldn't. I could see a world where if they try that kind of draft again, Cal Poly can punish it. But I think being a week off and being that kind of draft was in a week 5 series, I think they know how to solidify their drafts, and I would definitely give the edge to TK Gamers.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna agree. I'm gonna go with TK Gamers here, and this is probably one of the biggest you're ever gonna hear me say, but I'm gonna give this a 75-25.
I
Uh,
would agree. That is,
yeah,
yeah.
I want to say this. I would love Cal Poly to win because
Mhm.
the thing is, one, I mean, you know, you knock TK Gamers out, and I don't gotta deal with them in the future possibly. Hey, I'm not really arguing with that. No, I'm just kidding. I actually have no, don't mind. I
No, you're
missed
not.
out on playing against Bori last split, so I'd love to actually get to play against him.
Mhm.
And the rest of TK Gamers too. Um, so for me, like, it'd be great. It'd be great for the league to see because it like shows that how competitive we are still, right? Like, hey, we're really competitive. Any team can win at any point. And it'd be a great underdog story here to get that victory. And then they'd play against Instinct again, which I am curious of that matchup, because there was a week 1 matchup and Cal Poly did win when they played. So Instinct being my number 2, and I'm thinking they're like this really, really good team, and me looking at Cal Poly going like, and I'm alluding to power rankings, by the way, guys. Hopefully you watched it already. But yeah, I like, it'd be crazy. So I definitely would look forward to that rematch and kind of seeing what happened there. But yeah, I think that's my take. So that's my biggest probably ever gonna hear. I don't know if I go any higher than 75-25 ever. Like that probably is my breaking point. If I'm saying anything higher, I almost feel a little too like almost kind of disrespectful at that point. But I feel it's going to be a really uphill climb for Cal Poly to win the series for sure.
Yep, I agree with all that.
All right, well, with that said, I guess we have our last matchup to talk about, and it is actually another rematch, but one that I feel like has some more hype behind it this time because, well, not that it didn't have hype before, but the caveat is there are some changes. We know that Backdoor Bandit's top laner is going to be someone else. We are aware of that. That's big. And, it has a team that came off a big victory, Little Cannons, right? And then one that's kind of coming off of some rough losses recently. So it's going to be really interesting, But yeah, that's Backdoor Bandits versus Little Cannons. And what do you think, CLT? What's your kind of take here on the rematch between these two teams from week 1?
Ooh, yeah. I think these are two teams that are trending in different directions. Backdoor did not finish the regular season that great, and I think a lot of teams learned how to punish them quite well. To where Load the Cannons have had a little bit of an up and down regular season, but they finished it on a pretty big note, taking down PB&J in a pretty epic 3-game series overall. and Load the Cannons have like that signature win, beating Small Brains, 2-0ing them actually, to give Small Brains their only loss of the regular season. So, uh, yeah, this could be interesting. I think Load the Cannons are starting to like gel and play well together. You've seen and when we talked to Minus a little bit regarding the last episode, I think they are starting to all gel and have faith in each other and like their roles. I know the top laner plays some pretty fightery picks, but has no issues frontlining and creating space for someone like Rurika or Minus to get in there. Uh, the support champion pool for Load the Kin and uh, Strawberry, he definitely looks way more comfortable on engaged champions, and I think Load the Cannons are starting to play with that style a lot better. I know they had him on Enchanters a few times, and it didn't look like it meshed the same way. And looking towards Backdoor Bandits, they started off strong, and they look like a really promising team. Their mid laner, Emperorish, has a very like unique champion pool, and I think sometimes they overcook just a little bit. Not that it's like disrespectful, but I think everybody knows he has that Garen, and I'm seeing earlier in the split he played stuff like Hui quite well. Looking at their week 1 matchup, which these teams have had a lot of growth between week 1. It's going to be a very entertaining matchup. I look at this matchup in the jungle really as Frozen Ace versus SCYX is a pretty banger matchup overall. SCYX, I think she's had like a really good standout split, probably the standout player for Backdoor Bandits, if I may say. And Frozen Ace hasn't had the greatest split, but he's still a very talented, very recognizable jungler for the people who've been in part of this league for a while. So, uh, it's gonna be a banger matchup. This is I'm curious of your take on this since you've actually played against both these teams, being Group B meet rematch, and kind of see where you see this going.
Well, looking at it, like the first time these teams met, GeoPro subbed in for Strawberry Milk on Load the Cannons, so I feel like that made an impact. Load the Cannons had I believe only three of the five, if I remember correctly, returning members from the split prior. So that was Rurika, Frozen, and um, Strawberry Milk. So there was some synergy there. So like when Strawberry didn't play, I was kind of like, I could kind of see why they weren't able to win because you lack that synergy. Though I think GeoPro's a great support. Even he had stated, I remember talking to him at some point, how like when you're not playing with your team, it still is different, right? And it can impact communication, the way things are done. So that's one thing of note for me. The other side of it is, I think, looking at the matchups specifically, I agree with you. The jungle is the interesting one. Mid lane, I think, is also interesting, and then obviously top lane. So those three, and I'm not trying to ignore bot, but I think bot both play a similar style. Scale up 80 carry players, because even when Minus plays Ezra, I feel like he is still just playing to scale. That's not a disrespect to Minus. He's just like, I know my job. I need to do damage mid late game, right? So it feels like that's kind of what they do. Supports are pretty similar, though I think I believe Strawberry maybe is a little more of a playmaker support compared to Sanius, but that's not a bad thing either. They still kind of just let their 80 carries do them. So yeah, those are my three spots. Specifically because I think Rurika, number one, great mid laner, and when he's playing at his best, really hard for anyone to deal with him. Whereas I think Emperorish having a very unique pull, but also not a very big pull, kind of hurts him a little bit. And Rurika is known for having a pretty deep pull. And then jungle, it's like, what Frozen are we gonna get? Because I love Frozen, and if you watch this, man, you know I do. We're been playing against each other now for what, like over a year now, year and a half. One of my funnest matchups anytime we've played against each other. Uh, but you haven't looked like yourself recently, man. So, what version am I gonna get of the Frozen? The Frozen I know and remember, or the Frozen I've seen recently this split? And if we get that version, it's gonna be hard for Loth Cannons to win. Um, and then top lane. The new top laner coming in. Is it gonna be just a person covering because they don't have any replacement? Like, who's subbing? What's going on? You know what I mean? And how does that look? So that could be like really, really good. And maybe it's like, okay, P Dog versus whoever it is, it's a fine matchup, no big deal. Or P Dog plays really well, pops off, destroys this replacement top laner, and it's like GG. So because of all that, I'm actually going to call this series, by the way, the only 50-50 pick 'em for me. I don't really know who should win this. Like, in my head, I feel like Loth Cannons honestly should be favored. But then when I'm really thinking about the circumstances, I just don't know. Because there's so many factors that play into the series for me. So I'm going to call it a pick 'em. You can pick it how you want. Chat, you all, get in the comments and you tell me what you guys think. But CLT, do you have a pick? Like, what are you thinking?
I actually agree. As you were kind of sitting there talking, I'm like, I know it's coming back to me. What pick do I make? And I do agree. I think it's a 50-50 pick 'em. I think it's gonna come down to the draft. If Backdoor Bandits plays a little more standard draft, based on what their top laner has, I think it does favor Load the Cannons, because a lot of the OP picks you might see in mid lane, and even if Mel like sneakily makes an appearance here, Rarika has like counters towards a lot of it. He's not afraid to look at spots and pick stuff like Kassadin, or we've seen his AP Cogmaul from time to time pop off and stuff like that. So I there's a lot of questions that are going to get answered in the series, and it could be a pick 'em. I would probably say 50-50 for the most part with this one. I think this is probably guaranteed to go 3 games in my opinion, unless Backdoor just doesn't synergize with the top laner well. Then that's a whole different story. But I think if the top laner that subs, or that they end up getting to fill in for the playoffs, can hold his own, then I think this is definitely a 50-50. I would agree with you.
Okay, for the actual people that would want to actually know, they're probably gonna want us to give a pick. What would be your pick though? Just like 50.0000001% to 49.99999. You know what I mean? What would be your pick?
Probably Load the Cannons in 3. I think they have kind of similar to Scorch and Same Banana, where when you have a lineup change, you don't know what team you're going to get, but I will say it's a lot closer of a pick because you're replacing top lane. Not that they don't integrate as much, but top lane also, for the majority of the early game, is kind of left on an island to some degree. I know Void Grubs have gotten more involved and supports roaming up, but I think Load the Cannons have the smaller uphill battle, and I think they ended the season off strong, that they're going to have a lot of momentum going into the series. So if you're going to make me do a pick, I would go Load the Cannons, but it's like 51-49.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you this week. Next week I'm gonna make sure we don't agree. Yeah, we'll go load the cannons here. Um, let's do some little for funs here, as the way to end this episode. What is the matchup you want to see in semis? So like, take out your pick. Like, don't even think about that. What would you want to see? So like, who do you want to see play coin flip, Ghost or PB&J? What do you think is the more exciting matchup there?
Exciting matchup, I would go with Ghost. They have such skilled players, and a lot of the carry roles, top mid and ADC, that coin flips fast paced. We're gonna fight you and just figure out where everything lies. I think Team Ghost can play that style and can be very skill expressive in that style. So I would love to see Ghost coin flip. if you're gonna see like for an entertainment value, like Ghost Coin Flip would be a pretty rad series. And correct me if I'm wrong, but semifinals are all best of 5, correct?
Semis is, but this is quarters. I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
said that
no, I'm
wrong.
just
Yeah.
yeah.
Semis will be a best of 5, so will finals. I don't know why I said semis. Quarters finals, guys. Quarters finals. Your dream matchup in quarters finals.
Oh, my dream matchup in quarters.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. This is the first round is wild card. I called it. Remember, this second round's quarters because there's 8 teams.
Oh,
Yeah, I goofed. Brain.
yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, folks at home.
Oh, okay. So quarter. Oh, okay. I got you
No,
now.
but
I
you're
got you now.
still you're still on pace for
I
what you said.
I was so zoomed into the bracket that I actually looked at that as like kind of pseudo semi. So
Oh,
that was a
that's
little bit of my
hilarious.
fault as well.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious. So then
Leave
yeah,
it to
you
me.
can and you can give that for the rest of the possible quarters too. Like
Yeah.
I want to hear your take. I'm not even gonna get mine. It's just a CLT thing. I want to hear what you
Oh,
think. So
okay.
what
Yeah. Ghost Coin Flip would be very entertaining.
nice. How about the TK benchers? What would you rather see there?
Oh man.
I have my take, but I really want to hear
I
yours
like,
first.
but here's the thing: is like it's hard to ignore personal feelings. I really love both Scorch and Insane Banana. I played against both of them in Group A, both really talented squads, and I really think there's a lot of really like cool, nice people. I've chatted with quite a bit of them after some of my matches and stuff. So it's really hard for me to pick. I think Scorch matches up better against TK Benchers, so I probably would like to see Scorch. But that's not. I'm gonna go back to my default that could be a 60-40 matchup between Scorch and Insane Banana. I think Scorch and versus TK Benchers would be an entertaining series. TK has a lot of really skilled individuals, but I think Scorch when they're playing sharp and if it is say Banana Sore at the mid lane, he's now would have what 3 series under his belt, all 3 O's in that regard. So Scorch would probably be meshing quite well, and I think they could put up a really good matchup against TK Ventures.
Yeah, I think for me honestly, it's insane banana posse, and it's the simple fact that I think the styles of their unique things they do would be really fun to watch because like both teams just like to play weird random things. By the way, I know I said I wasn't going to give mine, but I had to in this one because I think Insane, Banana Posse, and TK are actually pretty similar teams in that aspect. So, but plus, who doesn't want to see the 12 seed just like win and maybe win again and maybe win again? Like that's just exciting
I would be
TV.
down with that.
It's exciting television, you know?
I would be down. I'm down with either one really
Yeah.
winning. Like there's such good people on those
Yeah.
teams.
What do you think? Um, TK Gamers, Cal Poly, and Instinct. Which one do you think would be the best matchup?
No disrespect to Cal Poly, I want to see TK Gamers versus Instinct. You kind of alluded to it a little bit when we were doing our predictions, but TK Gamers again, another one of those super good, super hand checky teams. But man, Instinct has looked really strong.
Yeah.
Especially good boy in the mid lane, man. He had a hell of a week 5.
Yep.
It's just I would love to see that.
I agree. And then the last one, so we have a rematch,
Oh,
and then we're gonna have another rematch. Sadly, who wants to see that, right? A bunch of rematches going on here. But yeah, who would you rather see rematch? Small brain, no mechanics, backdoor, or load the cannons?
um, I would probably who I would like to see,
Hmm.
and it's just and maybe you can give your own little side of this. I think Load the Cannons versus Small Brains. I think Small Brains wants that matchup. Like they want revenge on being that only black mark in the regular season. And Load the Cannons, like you got Mono versus Minus, you got Zenma versus Rurika, the jungle matchup, Frozen versus yourself. You always said I mean, you noted that it's always great matchups there. Like that's just there. I think you guys want the revenge matchup there. No offense to Backdoor. I think Backdoor also gives you guys a great matchup. But Load the Cannons, I mean, they're 1-0 against you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a That's a great take there. Wouldn't disagree
Right.
that they are
All
they
right.
are they are undefeated against us right now. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, for me, I mean, I don't really care who we play. To be honest, I don't look at like revenge tours. That's that's weird. That because then if basically what happens, and this is my opinion of that mindset, you be careful what you wish for. That's what that means. Be careful what you wish for. So for me, whoever wins is the team we're gonna play, and I just look forward to either of them again. Backdoor Bandits was a fun matchup. Obviously, we 2-0'd, but doesn't mean they can't come out and get us back. So um, we're still gonna take them just as serious as we did in week 5. Um, and then the Cannons, of course, I think we were a little high before the matchup as far as like high on our victory over Sad Jellyfish, and we got humbled real quick there. So yeah, I think it would be a great time to have another match and see how it plays out. Hopefully this time not at like 2 o'clock or whatever it was when my team is sleepy. And then Marika can say no more excuses if they beat us. So yeah, so I think it'll be a fun matchup no matter what. But both teams are very competitive. I think when you look at it and you see though the Cannons is an 11th seed, it's like yeah, but they're a good team. So like don't let it fool you as an 11 seed. They're legit. Um, so I'm looking forward to whoever comes knocking on our door. So um, that's pretty much it. With that all being said, man, for everybody watching, especially if you're a captain watching, just remember if you are the higher seed, you do get side selection for game 1. Huge, big, massive. So yes, that means all of the quarters are going to be the teams that have buys will be getting those, right? Um, so that's big. The other thing is play your hearts out. Your season's on the line now. Every week starting now. For Load the Cannons, it started last week, and same Banana Posse and technically Scorch. So yeah, and Cal Poly actually. A lot of teams were already playing the playoffs last week. So yeah, I mean but it really starts now. Like this is for all the marbles. So give it your best shot, and we will be there to cast your games. Like I said, the Saturday matchups will be Team Ghost and Peanut Butter and Jelly, at I believe 8:30 EST. Scorch and the same Banana Posse also on Saturday 8:30 EST, and then TK Gamers versus Cal Poly Division 2 at 1 PST 4 EST, and Backdoor Bandits versus Load the Cannons, which I think is a 7 EST if I recall correctly. Maybe it's an 8, but it's one of those times. I'd have to go look. I forget, but yeah, look out for those matches. They're going to be fun. They're going to be great. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it for me. So good luck to everybody in wildcard round, and that's it from me. CLT, you got anything?
No, no, I think this is going to be exciting. New patch brings in a couple of like minor changes, feats of strength. Now the first blood is now first to 3 kills. I think that could make teams play a touch slower and not really try to like monkey flip the first kill. And Mel enabled for the playoffs.
Yeah, here comes Mel. So yeah, it's
Hmm.
gonna be fun. But that's pretty much it then, man. So GG to everybody. Um, shorter episode. We're happy about that. So yeah, we look forward to it. So check out Power Rankings. That's live. It's up there already. Check that out, please. Tell me if it's horrible. If my take's bad. And yeah, we'll catch you guys on the flip side. So that should be hopefully next Wednesday. So you guys take care. Have a wonderful night. And GG.